Welcome, listeners, to Embracing Power and Potential, your go-to podcast where we travel through the realms of personal growth, mindset mastery, and fear-conquering strategies to help achieve your greatest desires. I'm your host, Portia, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this transformative experience. If you're ready to unleash your authentic power and elevate your life, you're in the right place. Join me and our special guests as we embark on conversations that will broaden your horizons and enrich your journey. So, sit back and immerse yourself in these unmatched discussions. It's time to expand your mind and your life. Hello, my lovely people. So today's episode, I want to talk about resistance and how this may be keeping you stuck without you even realizing it. Before we get into the episode, I just want to update you on my little week. As you know, we are bringing out weekly episodes now, so that's exciting. A little bit more on my plate between my jobs and the coaching side of business, but that's fine. We will be uploading every Sunday. So yeah, that's exciting. And if you do have any topics that you are interested in or want to talk about or collab with me on an episode, please reach out. Don't be afraid. My DMs are open to all feedback and ways that we can expand, because at the end of the day, I want to cater to my audience, which is why I'm doing these weekly episodes now, because you asked, and so I delivered. And it was my birthday over the weekend, so that was nice. I didn't do too much this year, just spend some time with friends and family, and honestly, I couldn't have asked for anything more this year. I just am in an era of protecting my peace, so just having people around me that actually made me feel good, really all I could ask for. So now, today's episode. There's a few different points that I'm going to touch on, one of them being why you might be the problem and how resistance may be keeping us stuck without us even realizing it. So I'm going to show you ways of how we can free ourselves when we have fallen into a rut. So if you have been feeling stuck or heavy, or like nothing's flowing in this season of your life, take this episode as your energetic reset. So firstly, let's start with talking about what resistance actually is. And this can actually look like so many different forms. But basically, the general definition would be the internal pushback that we feel when we're about to expand, when we are growing or stepping into new or an aligned version of ourselves. But resistance is the mental, emotional, and like the energetic friction that shows up. And this can look like procrastination, doubt or overthinking, self-sabotage, avoidance, telling yourself you're not ready, even things like denying yourself of joy. You know, when things happen, or sometimes you think it's too good to be true. You're resisting. This can look like addictions, chronic stress, and keeping stuck in patterns. However, we don't have to dislike resistance because it's actually a protective mechanism. Resistance subconsciously believes that it's keeping us safe in the familiar, even if the familiar is uncomfortable. And I know I've talked about that in one of my previous episodes. So resistance isn't the enemy. It is a signal, and it shows up right before your next level. So I'm going to talk about 3 steps with how we can actually release resistance when it comes up. But first, I want to talk about why you might be the problem. The hard truths and the tough love that you actually might be causing yourself resistance without actually realizing it. And this can be because of fear or the ego holding us back, keeping us stuck. For example, and this can be with anything in life. So, something that has happened just previously in my experience that I was causing resistance in my life is with my family relationships. And I really had to pull my energy back over the last couple of weeks and realize that I'm actually causing myself more harm by keeping stuck in these negative feelings that I had around some relationships in my life. But at the end of the day, I had to realize that I couldn't change what those people were doing. And instead of dwelling on it and holding these negative feelings that are actually harmful, and when you do feel negative about someone else, at the end of the day, you're not actually hurting them. You are only poisoning yourself. And I've known this, but sometimes we do get in over our heads and, we start overthinking and getting frustrated at situations in our lives. So it happens to everyone, but we do have to be reminded and pull ourselves back and our energy back. And I thought to myself, maybe I am the problem. Not fully, but for myself, causing myself more harm by holding on to these feelings. So that's just something that I had to move through. And it is uncomfortable because it's your ego that is holding these feelings towards these people, because it makes you feel better about yourself in the short term. But this is just causing resistance. When you're holding feelings like resentment, this is not just a mental thing. These feelings are physically stored in your body when you are feeling like that. And so really taking the conscious actions to choose joy, to choose happiness, and to choose to protect your peace in a way that isn't harmful to you or anyone else. And I know in my case, when a situation happens, avoidance is the first thing that I do. I try to avoid the person or the situation. And this is my ego keeping me stuck, because I feel like I'm not better, but it makes you feel better to avoid the situation and just, ignore it. But that's not dealing with it. I know I'm talking from experience. That is not dealing with it. You actually have to become aware of these feelings. Even if you're not completely in the wrong, own your part, even if it's just having to forgive yourself for feeling like that. Then you can move on by choosing different feelings. And something my cousin said to me the other day is, even if when something happens, maybe a situation happens, you can either stress out about it and react, or you can keep moving on with life. But at the end of the day, that thing that happened still happens either way of how you react. So then after the fact, it's your choice whether you want to suffer, whether you want to dwell, or simply process these feelings, let them move through your body, and move on. So that's just something, a different way to think about it when a situation in your life does come up and it takes away a lot of your energy or drains you. It's about your perspective on how you deal with it, with how your experience of life will feel and look like. And that can either be positive or negative, but the choice is yours. And something that I was just reading in a blog from Gabby Bernstein, if you have heard from her, she said that what we resist will persist. And I love this because this is like attracts like in law of attraction. You know, what you put your energy on and what you focus on multiplies in your life and keeps showing up. So when we are resisting something, we are actually focusing and putting a lot of energy towards that resistance. And that is going to keep showing up in our life over and over again. So this is when we have to consciously pull our energy back to ourselves and focus on the things that we do want in our lives and not trying to resist what we don't want. And when you do clear this resistance, you regain your true power back and you feel so much lighter. But resistance is hard because it does require the healing, that deep inner work, becoming aware of why you are feeling like this, learning and changing, but this leads to greater awareness. So it's not easier, and the easy option is to just stay stuck, but it's not going to do you any well. It's not going to be beneficial to your health, to your mindset, to your mental health, or to your quality and experience of just life in general. So when you are up leveling into a new version of your life, maybe you're stepping more into alignment with this higher version. This is when resistance comes up the most because you are moving beyond your comfort zone. And this can look like when we start to procrastinate or even telling ourselves, I'm not ready yet. Maybe doubt starts creeping in and overthinking because it is trying to protect you from the unknown. So this is when you have to constantly choose and consciously choose to tell your body that you are safe, because the more that you do start to take these risks and take these changes, the easier that it does become. But resistance is just protecting you. Ever feel like you're meant for more, but something keeps holding you back? Maybe you've read the books, set the goals, but deep down, doubt still creeps in. It's not just about working harder, it's about rewriting your mindset for success. I help ambitious young people break past limiting beliefs, step into their power, and create the life they know they are meant for. If you're ready to stop playing small and start living big, book in your free discovery call with me today. My website will be linked in the show notes, or you can find me in my Instagram bio. Embracing Power and Potential Coaching Services. A vision to empower 10,000 young people to create a life they truly desire. So this is a metaphor that I like to use to explain this a little more. So basically think of yourself like a rubber band being stretched. That tension that you feel, that is resistance, and it is uncomfortable, but it only exists because you're expanding beyond your current shape. So if you've never stretched, you'd never grow. The resistance is basically proof that you're reaching beyond your comfort zone. So learn to lean into that. Now, I'm going to talk you through 3 steps that I use to release resistance when this comes up. And the first step is acknowledging your resistance and forgiving yourself for feeling that way, because this has kept you safe and protected your peace short term, but it's not actually beneficial for you long term. So acknowledging how you feel, why this is coming up for you or showing up in your life, and forgiving yourself for feeling that way, whether it's forgiving yourself for feeling negative feelings towards someone else or towards yourself. And then step 2 is to get curious, but not critical. Ask yourself why you've been feeling stuck. And a practice that I like to do is journaling from a voice of you that feels resistance. And often this is just your shadow self wanting to be heard. So just journaling and letting it all out. And lastly, moving the energy. This is the last step to releasing resistance, because as I said before, resistance isn't just mental feelings. This is physically stored in your body. So little practices that can help to move this energy through you to be released is breath work. Sometimes it's as simple as counting in for 4 when you inhale and counting back out to 4 to 6 seconds, because the longer that you exhale, that is more that you are releasing. Or you can do EFT tapping, which is something that I have gotten into lately and I will talk about in the next episode. And actually, I'm thinking of bringing out a little EFT tapping meditation, affirmation, little soundtrack. But you can also go for a walk or stretch your body or move in some way to shift that energy. Even just grounding yourself, putting your feet on the grass and connecting with nature is also another good way. But being present, bringing yourself back to center and letting these emotions move through you. You will feel lighter after you do this, because resistance is like a heavy energy. So it's a lot of weight out of your life. So let me know if you do try any of these. If you are going through something right now that is holding resistance, hopefully some of this can help you move through this time. Please, it's so appreciated when you like, comment, and share these episodes to your friends and family or anyone that you know that may hear them, and to your Instagram stories, so we can keep building this community and this audience. Also, please reach out if you want to collab. But I will see you in the next episode. Hope you have the best week. Lots of love to you. Bye for now.